In your headlines, Ministry of Health announces the commencement of rollout of the fourth dose. The latest sitting of the House of Assembly revealed a number of new projects, and Minister of Health has made some updates to the amendment of health regulations. From the PTV Broadcasting Headquarters in Providencial is your number one source for news. I'm Erica Pinales, delivering the latest from across the country this Thursday newscast right to your door. Newswatch starts now. The Ministry of Health and Human Services announces the commencement of rollout of the fourth dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Newswatch with the latest. The fourth dose of the vaccine has been launched in several countries, including the UK and the US, to provide additional protection to those who are most vulnerable. The MOH say they will be offering the fourth dose of the vaccine to those who are in the vulnerable group who received the third dose of the vaccine more than 6 months previously. Priority groups for the fourth dose include adults aged 60 years and over, residents in a care home for older adults, and individuals aged 12 years and over who are immunosuppressed. These groups are at the greatest risk of severe illness if they are infected with COVID-19. To date, 85% of the local population has been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. However, only 19% have received the booster dose. The MOH advised that the COVID-19 vaccine and the booster remains the most effective way to prevent severe illness during the current pandemic, including severe illness caused by the Omicron variant. Evidence has shown the importance of the booster in preventing hospitalization and severe outcomes which resulted from the most recent wave of the Omicron variant in the US and elsewhere. Data from studies in Israel indicates that a second booster given at least 4 months after the first booster restores antibody levels without raising any new safety concerns. Data also suggests that a second booster provides additional protection against severe disease. After these priority groups listed above have received the booster, other eligible persons can receive the fourth dose. Interested persons should discuss the fourth dose of the COVID-19 vaccine with their health care provider. The latest sitting of the House of Assembly revealed a number of new projects and initiatives by the various ministries. Here's a look at some new developments from that sitting.
You asked, and they delivered, along with the strides being made in that sector, including free tertiary education for islanders. The Minister of Finance has announced that education officials are well on their way to providing a full secondary curriculum at both of the island's public high schools.
The government will upgrade the Clement Howell High School and Louise Garland High School to senior high schools, offering first to fifth form education in both high schools. No longer will you have to go to one school if you want to do first form to third, and the other one, if you want to do fourth and fifth, both of them will be full high schools.
The Minister of Finance also announced a breakdown of funding for a number of developments to the government sectors.
Our government is doing its part, and we will continue to do so this financial year through allocating $7.7 million, 2% of our allocated spending, that we are towards environmental protection. The spending priorities in this area will be on fisheries and marine resource management, public and environmental protection, and for the Minister of Health, waste management. Mr. Speaker, our government is also allocating $3.8 million on water undertakings, housing, community renewal, and district administration.
And that's not all. Security defenses will benefit from $2.7 million for National Security Secretariat, another $1.5 million on motor vehicles and vessels for the Defense Forces, and $4.3 million toward recreation, culture, and religion. Here's also a look at allocations for the Public Sector Investment Program.
Noteworthy are the allocations for the following: law enforcement, border control and security, $8 million. Continued spending on digitization and e-government, $2 million. Education, $6.4 million. That's per project, $6.4 million. Water undertaking, prison and fire services, $6 million. Infrastructure development throughout the island, $21 million. Tourism, $1.7 million. And health projects, $1.2 million. So, Mr. Speaker, as I said, our total expenditure package is $388.9 million, and recurrent revenues account for 99% of our total revenue.
Honorable Saunders alluded that these allocations for developments were reminiscent of a bright Christmas for government ministries in that everyone would receive something to meet the demands of their existing and upcoming projects and programs.
Don't go anywhere. More News Watch when we return.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
Honorable Jamal Robinson, Minister of Health, has made some updates to the amendment to health regulations. Take a look. In the previous newscast, Honorable Robinson revealed that he expects cases to fluctuate with the subvariant of Omicron. We could see a potential spike in cases. However, he believes that it's not anything extreme, later explaining that the changes which have been made to the health regulations will not put locals at risk.
It's the exact same thing in terms of the people who are eligible. So in terms of the tourists, the only thing that's different now is that it's easier for them to come in terms of the process in of itself, because you had to be vaccinated if you were 18 and older. The only difference is you don't have to do a pre-arrival test, and you're not required to do insurance, and you're not required to also complete the portal application. So it's a lot easier, so ease of coming in. So you're the same tourist, you're the same under 18 person who is eligible to come in. It's just a smoother process. And again, we balance the risk of who can come in and the way they come in with their likelihood of being any strain on our system or likelihood of them bringing in the disease.
If you happen to be stopped from going into a store after the mandatory requirement for face masks has been removed as of May 1st, remember they can do that. Here's why.
How you run your operation on a personal level, right, or on a per business level, there's a lot of discretion in that. Clearly, you can't discriminate against people because of their, well, in some instances, age, gender, religion, and stuff like that. So that it would be outside the scope. But if a business still believes that for their safety and the safety of their customers, that they would want to continue with the mask mandate for entry into their personal or their establishments, that is something that they can do separate and apart from the mandate in of itself.
Honorable Robinson said that overall, it is the personal responsibility of the individual whether they want to go into a place in this COVID environment where they would want to be indoors or outdoors without a mask.
Still recommended in enclosed spaces. So like right now, if you're traveling on a plane after May 1st, whether regionally, locally, or internationally, depending on the place you are, there might not be a requirement to wear a mask, because some persons would have seen recently where the U.S. struck down the mask mandate for domestic travel from the Biden administration. So airlines can't enforce that. But if I was traveling on a plane with 200, 300 people in close proximity, I'd wear my mask for the duration of that travel. Now, if I'm in a truck in the back of a truck riding down the road, open air with a few of my friends, I might not wear a mask in that situation. So you have to use your judgment. We've all been in this environment for the last 2+ years, so you can pick and choose when you decide to wear a mask.
Asked how he felt about the removal of the mask mandate, the minister replied candidly, saying that he thinks it's timely.
It's progressive. I think it's making sure that we take into consideration what our competition is doing while remembering what the reality is on the ground, because I know a lot of our competitors within the region have just moved completely all mask mandates, all vaccination, entry requirements, etc., etc. But we didn't go that far because we know what our capacity is with our healthcare system and our hospitals. So we didn't want to chance going that far while also being in a position to be competitive from an economic standpoint. So one and two, the lives and livelihoods, as I've been preaching for the last 8 months or so, still goes hand in hand. So we take all those things into consideration.
Finally, the Minister of Health ended with a message to the public.
Please show your personal responsibility. Only you know your personal situation in terms of the likelihood of the severity if you were to contract the COVID-19 virus. Protect yourself. Although the mask mandate isn't in place, if you see fit to wear a mask in an enclosed location indoors, then by all means do so. As well as if you haven't taken the vaccine in the first instance, do so. If you haven't taken your booster shot, do so. And the fourth booster shot is available for persons who are adults. So we've given you all the tools that you need. You've lived with this, with all of us, for the last several years. So I know you are in a position and a person who can respond accordingly to the facts on the ground. So be safe and take care.
The chief of police on site at a search warrant operation on Monday now updates the public on that operation and what he and his unit were able to recover. Here are the details.
Seems police are making good on their promise to getting illegal weapons and drugs off the streets, which are all major contributors to the rise in crime being experienced since the end of 2021. Commissioner of Police Trevor Botting, during a search warrant operation in 5 Keys on Monday, updated the public on their initiatives in real time.
It's Monday the 25th of April. I'm in 5 Keys with the tactical unit. It was just an operational update. This morning there's been some significant operations in 5 Keys where we've executed some search warrants. It's early stages and we'll give you more detail later. But at the moment we believe we've recovered 1 firearm and there's 1 person in custody.
That operation yielded results as the search warrant executed by the tactical unit saw the recovery of 1 illegal firearm, a magazine with 12 rounds of 9mm caliber ammunition, and 10 grams of suspected cannabis. Newswatch now learns that 37-year-old Jean-Etienne Dore was arrested and formally charged for keeping firearm, keeping ammunition, and possession of controlled drugs.
Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Coming up next is your weather forecast.
This is a reminder that all PTV service accounts are due on the first day of each month. Accounts should be brought up to date by the 28th of the month to avoid disruption in service. Payments may be made on our office at Stubbs Diamond Plaza, Providenciales, Mides Plaza, North Caicos, and Airport Road in South Caicos. Payments may also be made online using Scotiabank, CIBC First Caribbean Bank, and Royal Bank of Canada. Please allow 3 business days for online payments to be processed. We thank you for your cooperation.
The TCI Cycling Federation has announced Fred Registry the winner of the Long Bay Express Classics. The race took place on April 24th, 2022 at 2 p.m. It wasn't the perfect day for competition with some interference from heavy winds, but that didn't stop Fred from taking the prestigious title. With just 3 miles to go, it was Matthew Williams in the lead. He set a demanding pace that posed a challenge for his opponents heading towards the finish line. However, with only 3 meters to go, Fred dug deep and shot past the forerunner at an unprecedented pace and convincingly claimed victory. Guest Canadian cyclist Chris Rouleau and local cycling star Siobhan Bishop placed just behind Fred, leaving Matthew Williams with a 6th place finish overall. The upcoming train wreck individual time trial on May 14th will be the Cycling Federation's next event of the season. More on this in a subsequent newscast. For your Sports Authority, I'm Ali Carvey.
Here's your weather forecast for April 29th, 2022. For the nation's capital, Grand Turk, on Friday, mostly cloudy skies, high 79, low 75, winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. For South Caicos, mostly cloudy skies, high 79, low 75, winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. For North and Middle Caicos, partly cloudy skies, high 80, low 75, winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. For Parrot and Pine Key, partly cloudy skies, high 80, low 75, winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. And on Providenciales, partly cloudy skies, high 80, low 75, winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Now for your sunrise and sunset. Sunrise 6:20 a.m., sunset 7:15 p.m. And for your high tides and low tides, high tide 7:33 a.m., 7:54 p.m. and low tides 1:30 a.m., 1:36 p.m. And that's it for your weather forecast. We'll be right back with more Newswatch.
Here at People's Television, we're more than just your leading news and entertainment services. We are
spreading the gospel.
We are breaking barriers.
We are preserving the culture. Each one, teach one.
We are committed to excellence.
We're creating change.
We are creating memories.
We are the future. I am PTV.
I am PTV. I am PTV.
I am PTV.
We are PTV.
We are continuing the legacy. We are PTV.
As a territory comprising of low-lying islands and one whose income depends strongly on its pristine coastlines, the TCI has overwhelming concern and interest in climate change. Here's what we've gathered from the TCI Climate Change Summit. Some speakers included Devin Cox, the Senior Vice President of Operations at Fortis TCI, Stacey Cox, who currently serves as Chief Executive Officer of the Turks and Caicos Hotel and Tourism Association, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Home Affairs of Barbados, Honorable Walter H. Robin, Lormika Williams, Dr. Eric F. Salamanca, Minister of Natural Resources, Labour and Immigration of the British Virgin Islands, Honorable Vincent Wheatley, oceanwide and environmental scientist who has recently joined the governor's office as the environment policy lead, and Ms. Jatavia Howell, who all made their presentations in the latter part of the summit.
Today is an important day in the life of the ministry and the department that is responsible for the environment. This climate change summit marks the beginning of what we hope is the first of many, but also a period of sustained action as we seek to raise the level of involvement and commitment to climate change. The fact that we are a beautiful by nature country highlights the importance of the protection of the environment. Our tourism product is highly dependent on the condition of our oceans and our reefs, and so we understand that it is important that we safeguard these assets.
Jones revealed that their ministry is committed to creating collaborative partnerships with the one thing we all have in common, the earth. And if we don't, the Turks and Caicos will start to experience some of the grave effects of climate change. His Excellency Governor Nigel Dakin was also present at the summit and believes that in this time we all must be activists.
So although it feels as though in these islands we're relatively small, together the overseas territories have an enormous role to play in this agenda. But let's bring it home here to the Turks and Caicos Islands. In fact, listening to the national song, almost everything in the national song is at risk through climate change. The Turks and Caicos Islands, like many small island states, faces challenges brought about by climate change. These include, but are not limited to, extreme weather events, coral reef bleaching, the loss of vital biodiversity. These threaten our lives and our livelihood.
As overseas territories, we may differ on many issues. However, one that we all have in common is the effects of climate change on our respective territories. We are all on the front line when it comes to the effects of it.
While the TCI, along with other small states, contribute but a rounding error of global carbon emissions, we're on the front line of the consequences of climate change, and we are most vulnerable to its impacts. Our ability to cope with these challenges are exacerbated by our small geographic size, by our isolation, by our exposure, and in this final point, and we share this with the British Virgin Isles, the fact we're an archipelago. It's therefore imperative that we build resilience against these impacts. Over the next century, those islands in the Caribbean that understand that relying on resilience built before the event is a rather better investment than relying on recovery after the event will have enjoyed and continue to enjoy a vibrant future.
The summit marks the conclusion of the Turks and Caicos Climate Summit Charter Commitment, which is a roadmap on how the TCI will tackle climate change holistically and innovatively. The Premier Honorable Charles Washington Mizik was also at the summit and shared his remarks.
The contract that this government has shared with you have a theme running through it that is triple bottom line sustainability. We have to have a functioning economy that generates goods and services so that we can maintain a decent quality of life.
The Premier also mentioned that the conversation about climate change is no longer new, and in his view, it is a conversation the islands of the sea should show more focus on. We show more focus because the effects of it could very well be the demise of life as we know it. The sand and sea, our magnificent shoreline, the beautiful life we enjoy is under threat, and now is the time to take action to protect it, said the minister.
Climate change is an abstract concept to many of us, one that we hear all too often about and yet do not always appreciate the implications of. In 2021, I had the privilege of attending the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26. The reality of the threat, the loss and damage that we face as a territory comprising of low-lying islands struck a deep chord within me. Within the last 14 years, the intensity and ferocity of hurricanes Irma, Ike, and Maria on the Turks and Caicos Islands was a stark reminder that climate change is real.
The minister said that the Turks and Caicos continues to take steps towards tackling climate change through strengthening our workforce and policies to better protect our natural resources. That brings us to the end of this edition of The Real News. I hate to leave you so soon, but of course, you can join us right back here every weekday at 6:30 p.m. and tap into our social media platforms at www.ptv8tci.com. I'm Erica Penales, keeping you informed, updated, and affiliated until next time.